just so we don't miss anything. Okay, now we're recording. As of right now, this becomes telepathic. What I mean by that, because most people, everyone's telepathic, they're afraid of it, they don't know it. You know, some guy looks at a cute woman's rear end when they're 18 years old. She's walking across the street. He doesn't mean anything by it. He's just looking at this pretty woman. She turns around and looks at him. That's what we call intuition, but people pick this up telepathically. They don't realize that's what it's doing because it's unconscious for them on Earth. I use it. Maybe it's not the best example, but it's a good one because we can all relate to when we were 18 or 20, and so it still applies. And people do it all the time. Telepathy, as it's worked in these sessions, is a direct communication between the Atma that you are. That's what we look like. It's pretty spectacular what we really look like. We're not like these. We are and have always been spherical, round. And it's that round thing that moves around the cosmos, goes from life to life or into other dimensions. When we get into the hue, we begin to be able to leave our bodies in the trance state called sleep, which is what you guys put it in every night. So do I. We all know how to do it, but most people, because of the way they're brought up, don't understand how to bring back awareness of what they're doing when they're out of their body each night. They wake up with a dream sometimes. Have you all had dreams of flying in a body at one point in your life? Flying a body around like in the astral plane? Yeah. Now that's a lifetime you're actually living there with a body you're running as an Atma. And sometimes we visit those things and we're flying around a specific part of the astral plane because there's many parallel dimensions there. And we bring that memory back for one reason or another. It's always uplifting and exhilarating to us because we're flying. We're kind of free. That's only astral. So when we move in the actual, what people call soul, which is really the Atma, to more advanced races out among the stars, we actually are able to move that around out in that black space, almost blue-black space that's behind Angela, which to human eyes on Earth looks black, supporting all these little white stars and galaxies. Many of those points of lights are actually other galaxies, besides the billions of stars in our own galaxy. And so, the light that comes from these places does not take a billion years to get here like people mistakenly believe on Earth. There's no limit to the speed of light whatsoever. There never was. It's just that scientists on Earth determine what the speed is by looking at it in Earth's atmosphere relative to what their eyes could see. And there's a limit to that. Once it goes beyond the 286,000 miles per second plus change, it goes into the ability of the Atma to see things. It's in a higher frequency. So everybody knows this. Any questions so far? This is collaboration, co-creative work between us. Anything anybody wants to say before we go further? No? Okay. Putting a body in the trance state called sleep is very easy. We do it all the time when we put the body to bed. In this case, because of my voice, which is working with some very wonderful, masterful beings not from Earth, this becomes something that assists you to not have any fear for this journey. No subconscious influences. For now, they're turned off. And this is done by wonderful, masterful men and women from another planet. Generally, they are human in this case, not always. And they will stand beside you, behind where you are right now, projecting a human type of form, which looks human, about 36, physically perfect, perfectly handsome, perfectly beautiful, about 36. Each one of us knows how to project this same form to each other. We've always known how to do this. But people on Earth so far do not yet remember, have not dropped enough fear yet to understand that they've always had this ability. This is a form we show each other that was from the beginning, before we left the area of Satnam's realm to come into the lower worlds and play with bodies. We always projected a perfect human-like form patterned after Satnam, actually, so that we would have a recognition of each other in our true state. But it is not the actual Atma. The Atma is spherical and runs a projection of pure human-like form. So this man and woman standing beside each of you comes from the Galactic Alliance, and they are considered master teachers as well. What they're doing is keeping your primary implant turned off because you don't have the secondary implants anymore. Those aren't a problem for either any of you. Those are gone. They're forever gone. What this does is give us the ability to have mastery or control over fear of the present and future. It still slips into us, still comes into us from the outside atmosphere on Earth where it's just packed into the water vapor, stored there. Water on planets, in oceans and rivers and lakes and streams, can charge or hold a very large charge of the hue in it. It's one of the mysteries of water that is just being uncovered by Professor Gerald Pollack of Washington State University today. A few scientists, but he's in the forefront of it, that proves water is multi-dimensional nature. It's telepathic medium. It can store vast amounts of information on multiple dimensional levels. And it stores the hue, which he does not know yet. What scientists on Earth call that black area in space that little galaxies float in, they call it zero-point energy or toroidal energy, the energy of the universe. And they know that it's powerful and it's packed in all that space. They don't understand it because it is no atoms, no molecules. It's not made of matter. It is finer than that and behind and supporting all things made of matter. That's what people pray to when they call divine spirit, but it doesn't call itself that. It is the one power living force behind and supporting all that exists. More advanced races among the stars know how to work with it. They know it is not nuclear or atomic in nature. And because of that, their advances in science are vastly beyond what people on Earth understand. In order for anti-gravitic propulsion to work much faster than what they call the speed of light on Earth, we have to work with the omnipresent hue, the first power. It is how it was set up. So the very advanced races out there know how to work with it. It doesn't mean they were necessarily going above the void where we're going and all the way back to source, because that's where we're going today. I took a whole group of people from Thailand to source yesterday, and one step further into the higher realm of the silent mentors themselves. So we're going there today as well. This is a great benefit because the silent mentors are the mechanics of the entire creation. They run the galaxies, keep them spinning on their axis, keep planets round, floating around suns. They keep the interdimensional doorways between dimensions guarded and protected. And so they're constantly busy. They never sleep. They never get fatigued. They have no limits whatsoever. They can be anywhere in creation, in the multidimensional creation, from the highest source to the lowest place in an instant, and appear in any form to carry out a mission. And you would never even know they were there. In fact, they deliberately keep you from knowing it. Their energy is so powerful. If it slipped out a little bit through your physical form on Earth, it would turn it to a pile of powder in an instant. So they're very, very careful. They normally do not and have never mixed with human beings or other races among the stars or in the lower dimensions. They don't normally mix it up with Atmas. They're not responsible for being master teachers for us. That's more of a different order of beings like us that have more compassion or more interest in educating or elevating or awakening other beings. Silent mentors have never had that duty. There is one place, however, where we can be in the middle of who and what they are, between master teachers on one side and silent mentors on the other. And that is in a place that was created fairly recently between the fifth realm, Satnam's realm above the void, and the sixth realm. That is called the Hue Expansion Ray Academy. We'll be going through there on our way further north, further up. The Atma we are made of the omnipresent power from Source, is also, it travels on the omnipresent power where there is no limits of gravity or the speed of light or any such nonsense. The energy behind things that are made of matter that have limits has no limits. We are made of the same energy. We have no limits, except the ones we place on ourselves, or that tyrants have forced on us, or twisted us in different ways out in the galaxy over millions of years, until we find ourselves on Earth with little or no former memory intact. Which is how we all found ourselves on Earth. There's about 8 billion people on Earth, all of whom do not know how they got here, or where they came from, or where they're going, or why they even exist. This all changes on these journeys. Because once we're outside in space, in the pure hue, outside of Earth's negatively impacted atmosphere, then we're plugged into the source energy itself. And we can't ignore the truth that we're presented with because we already know it. We don't have to earn it later or find it out later through some clever meditation. Nirvikalpa Samadhi, as some people call it, like God realization, is not even in the higher realms. So it's not going to get people free. All of the religions taught on Earth and spiritual paths on Earth, as far as I can see, do not take people above the void ever. That means they don't go into the realms where there's no negative nature, where they can co-create changing life for themselves and life down here. In reality, we're responsible for the condition of planet Earth, the universe, and all negative and positive things, because we are Atmas. We were like what we are as Atmas before the worlds of time and space were built. So we're responsible for the failed experiment of good and evil. It is a failed experiment. It backfired big time. It worked so well that many beings forgot even how to go back across the void or go home to deliver their experience to the source to help create it better, which means we haven't been doing our job. This is changing. What took place in the higher realities some years back, about 10 years ago, I would say Earth time, a little more, changed what we call the Say-Rays race, one of the most advanced species that ever existed. They were responsible, the Say-Rays, which were human but much taller than Earth humans, 12-stranded DNA bodies, not 2. Telomeres on their DNA never shrank when cells divide, so they never age. And neither do the Galactic Alliance personnel. Their 4-stranded DNA does not have a telomere that shrinks when cells divide. This is normal. This is just natural and normal for most races outside of Earth. So Earth people in this culture have a great deal of changing to go through to be able to appreciate and accept the gifts and awareness of friends and brothers and sisters out among the stars that have been working for 70 years to try to get the leaders of this world to drop their fear without forcing them to. This is the real game. This is what's really going on. The only reason disclosure began in the United States this last year, officially through the Pentagon, is because they were told from outside of Earth they have to begin this and level with the people on Earth, because otherwise Earth people will destroy themselves again. Or it will be done for them, this disclosure, without their involvement. Because people on Earth don't have the right unconsciously through fear to destroy themselves and hurt life in other parallel and higher dimensions and other worlds because they want to do some nuclear war nonsense. They tried that many times after World War II and it failed because their launch computers were shut down from space, here and in the former Soviet Union. So one of the highest classified things is not telling people that, hey, there's things out there that can stop us from launching our rockets whenever they want. It doesn't give people a sense of security to raise babies and be baby boomers after World War II, knowing there's races among the stars so much more evolved than us. If they're good and bad, if they wanted to kick our ass, they could do it in 5 minutes. That's a big fear for people to have after World War II when they just got the hydrogen bomb going. They were approached a number of times by representatives from the stars. Certain leaders, Eisenhower certainly was. Nixon knew about it. They were approached and asked that basically that these beings could come and present themselves to everyone on Earth and change Earth's destiny forever. Remove the toxicity in the atmosphere, the water, the radiation, all of it. But they had to give up one thing. It's required. It's galactic law. It cannot be gotten around. We would have to give up all nuclear weapons, radioactive materials that are man-made in order to have this, because they're outlawed out there. They don't use them. So if you think about it, if you have trillions of people out there voting to allow people to blow themselves up or not, without intervening, not being tyrants, but stopping us just short of doing it, then that's the amount of intervention they've had in the last 70 years. Basically keeping us from annihilating ourselves because people on Earth tried to do it. They were that crazy, that misdirected. Fortunately, we're not alone in the universe, or we'd all be dead now, looking for more bodies or being on another planet or something. The first half of the word hue is human, hidden in plain sight. No one would ever see it, right? Look at it, oh, there's human hue. How are they going to know that it does something to connect them to source? They've long forgotten that, and most people are terrified of it. It doesn't fit into their religious or spiritual beliefs. It doesn't fit into their radical agendas and competing with each other. It doesn't fit into political agendas. It operates well beyond anything on this planet. So if you think about it, the hue is moving in a new direction through our solar system. It is moving through 3 devices now, 2 on the bottom of Earth's deepest oceans, 1 in the Atlantic, 1 in the Pacific, and 1 in a hollowed out interior of a mountain in the Himalaya. They are connected. They look like golden-sided pyramids with quartz caps. There is a fountain in each one that is a device that brings the hue down into Earth and starts to charge the oceans a little bit. The only thing blocking the oceans from being charged with the hue, which would transform this planet, is the 8 billion unconscious people in the way. They are Atmas from source. It is required that they be involved. They cannot just be ignored. So the fear that people are carrying subconsciously is really the only thing that has to go. Nothing else ever needs to be given up. Just that. Because it's artificial, it's implanted. Something that's implanted that misdirects people's decision making on Earth is done in a subconscious way, meaning you're not aware that it's there. This is the problem. There are no reptilians or greys. No greys are abducting anybody. No reptilians are in bases underground on Earth. It hasn't been that way for 25 years. They were moved out of here, but not by people on Earth. This is important to understand this. They were not moved away by people on Earth who did not know how to get rid of them. They were sent away in another way. They weren't killed. So the people on Earth are still stuck with some programming was put in them before they were compelled to be born in a body here with no memory. There's no such thing as God's will and some contract with some divine source that says, I volunteer to come to Earth dumber than a brick with no memory because then I'll get it right in front of God. No such thing exists. No one that's conscious at all would ever volunteer to come to this planet and climb in a baby's body with no memory. This is all wrong. The religions and spiritual paths represented on Earth today do not exist out among the stars or in higher dimensions. They're only for Earth. People begin to realize that, they'll be able to go from faith and belief into direct experience, which is how we're meant to do things. The man and woman standing beside you, I'm going to describe them for you briefly because I think it's worth the time spent, that you have some visual representation because it's telepathic. Of at least 2 couples I've introduced to people on Earth so far, Shantial and Tonaltial and Dantiam and Lamtiam. Because they are Galactic Alliance personnel, they appear to be about 36 years of age in the form they show us. Perfect bodies, perfectly handsome, perfectly beautiful. The forms they show us actually is like the bodies they have aboard a craft. Did you have a question, Anna? Your mic. Turn on your mic.
We are four of us. You are about to describe
Two
four,
couples.
but we are four. So
Right. There are two other couples, but I'm not going to take time to describe them. They're similar in appearance. Okay? And actually, Chantiel and Tonaltiel are standing beside me, and Dantiam and Lamtiam are standing beside you, Anna. Behind you.
I knew that, but I wanted to know about Angela and John
Oh,
as
I think they will see the difference when I describe them. So I'll go on with this and describe these two couples. The other ones may have a variance in hair, ear size, or skin color, but basically they're all wearing Galactic Alliance uniforms in the presentation they present to you.
thank you.
You're very welcome. We don't want to mistake these people as extraterrestrials. That will keep you off track because you're extraterrestrial. They're friends. They just have body forms that don't age, not like Earth. They weren't born here. They don't have subconscious minds at all. It's illegal out there, not tolerated. And they've never been implanted like we were, which is why we ended up on this planet one way or another with no memory or very little. Chantiel and Tonaltiel, he has long blonde hair and robin's egg blue eyes. She has long brunette hair and emerald green eyes. Their eyes are slightly larger and more brilliantly beautiful than human eyes on Earth. Otherwise, they're human. Dantium has golden colored eyes, brown hair, and she has red ruby eyes and yellow red hair. Their hair is long and down to their shoulders. They don't have to trim their hair. They keep it the length it is by choice. It's not like people on Earth. The other couples, the two that surround Angela and John of Light, are similar. They may have violet eyes or green eyes with red pupils or silver hair with violet eyes. They're different races. Oceanian or blue skinned. There are many Oceanians in Galactic Alliance personnel. Have been for 500,000 years. Now the reason they're there is to keep your present, any kind of fear of the present future turned off while we make this journey for your benefit. You find yourself daydreaming is something that we all know how to do very well. It's a telepathic ability really to see into the universe and see things. And for instance, you will see things when you when you imagine going to the store or going out for a walk. We first visualize doing it, and then the body follows the vision. This is true for every single entity, even for the entities running animals, the Atmas. They will visualize going somewhere because they're purely telepathic. They have no implants, and then their bodies will follow a course. The only reason animals are more unconscious, it would appear to humans who are very unconscious on this planet, is because humans are the more advanced species. And all animal and sea life has to follow the dominant race on a world system. Can you imagine what Earth would be like if people knew that Atmas were running the animals on the planet and could talk with them? Everything would change quite dramatically. So Earth is extremely backward and headed in the wrong direction in every single way there is. And that has to be changed. It's not going to be changed by the mass of people who don't remember who they are in time. They would have already annihilated themselves. So it has to be done by beings who are not trapped in this way, who volunteer to come here to help in this process, a new process moving through the universe. This process is involved in retiring the failed old experiment of good and evil with what we call the new ray, which is a consciousness moving through the omnipresent single living power we're all part of, in a new way to begin to fix what's wrong with the lower dimensions of time and space and how they're run. Not destroy it, correct it. The hue moving through us right now brings with it a certain wisdom that was not in it before. And this provides us with the ability to be wise enough to choose correctly, go back to the source from whence we came, and deliver our unique nature to it, because each being holds a certain key to the entire puzzle of transforming worlds. We were meant to bring back that awareness of all our lives to the source, and we haven't been doing it. People have. The Galactic Alliance just started doing that basically just before I started this work publicly. They were paradisical worlds compared to ours, but they weren't going back above the void either. Something happened to the Say rays that changed all that. The Say rays, like Ambassador Trillian, were great genetic engineers, let's say, billions of years ago. They were responsible for raising genetic life like human and humanoid and other races, reptilian, gray, mantis, all Nordics, anything you can think of, tall whites. They were responsible for developing these races and brought them up to a spacefaring capability on many galaxies in the astral and physical worlds. That's how advanced they are. And then once they brought them up to that level, and there were no beings out there eating each other like reptilians or anything like that, that happened much later. And then they vanished from existence for a long period of time to see what we would do with it. We all know what we did with it. Not a pretty picture. And now that they're back as representatives of this source, Satnam in particular, they're going to oversee the younger races and help us to not destroy ourselves and make it over this great hurdle. Earth is so precarious. It stands on the edge of a knife for complete death of all life to becoming a Galactic Alliance planetary member system. This planet, its people cannot get there on their own. That is impossible. It's going to have to come from outside Earth, from the greater God, yes. With that in mind, telepathically, now when you close your eyes, and you should do this because we want to shut out all incoming connections to the light in the atmosphere of Earth. We don't want that coming into this journey. What happens when we close our eyes is automatic. The pineal gland in the center of the brain opens up a channel of energy between you on Earth, the body, and the Atma running it. Begins to awaken the fact that you are an Atma running a body and not the other way around. And you have always been like this. We have never, now or ever in the past, been a body. That most people have been swindled and hoodwinked and betrayed and manipulated to doubt and fear this until they identify being a body only. That's most people on Earth. They think they have a soul somewhere else. That the body's got this soul somewhere. But that's not the way it is. They are an Atma or soul running a body. This has to be reversed in people's thinking. I'm going to send out the hue now, and I'm doing this with Ambassador Trillian, master teachers like Ramu and Opelum, Etta and Din, and Lightsea, Satnam, the top silent mentor who is with us on this journey, which is beyond rare. In 200 billion years, that's beyond rare. It's the same for Satnam. He normally never came down here and intermingled with anybody down here. But he will be in this journey with us. The master teachers that work voluntarily to go on these journeys are many hundreds, if not thousands of years old. They have bodies unaged, about 36 to 40 on their various world systems. They're going to be sending out the hue with me. We're creating a vortex, an hourglass-shaped funnel of light between the physical space outside of Earth the hue, the omnipresent power, which is what it is, and the void and Satnam's realm. It's really connected all the way to the source itself, the ocean of sound and light, many planes above the Hue Expansion Ray Academy. So when we're plugged into that hue out in space on this journey, there is a higher form of the hue put around us than exists in space. We're plugging into source energy. It's like the source sees us for the first time in hundreds of billions of years and says, oh, this one's ready to come back home and be responsible for taking their part in creating a great change in creation, because we're required to do it. We agreed to do it long ago. We might as well fulfill our destiny to be co-creators with the source, because that's where we're headed. There is no greater thing to accomplish in eternity than that. We're destined for it. That's created a doorway above Satnam to the void, bypassing the lower planes of time and space altogether. We don't want to play with matter, space, and time, or good and bad, or good and evil, or negative and positive, or any of that nonsense. The hue does not work with it. It supports it, but they do not blend. Neither do we. You find yourself looking down on your body. This is just daydreaming, just like you imagine going to the store, except we're putting it out in space, refocusing it. Of course you have the ability. You got no primary implant turned on. Naturally you have this ability. You're near the ceiling looking down on your body as a spherical being. You can see in 360 degrees in any direction. And beside you, left and right, is a male and a female, about 36, two Atmas, spherical, showing you a body form out in front of them that looks perfect. When I mean perfect, I mean perfectly handsome, perfectly beautiful, trim, elegant, poised, dignified, mature. And then you find that you are projecting the same type of body to them. Perfect, pure, handsome, beautiful, about 36, flawless in every way. This is who we really are. This is not a physical DNA body. It is not made of molecules or atoms. It is a projection of how we see ourselves from the source, just like Satnam shows us a body form that isn't a body. the first personification of human form you'll see in any such form, more ancient than time and space itself. A prototype, if you will. Your body's in the trance state called sleep. Doesn't matter if you hear a truck go by or a noise outside or a bird. This is naturally left on to keep your body protected from harm, but it's not negative. The body in the trance state, when it goes into sleep properly and you're still hearing my voice, means you stay alert as an Atma. The body goes to sleep. It means through the pineal gland. The pineal gland is secreting serotonin, which makes melatonin, which puts the body in an automatic state so you can leave it. And we do it every single night. We might as well start to become aware of this fact while we're alive on Earth, because that's where mastery comes into this picture. We are meant to master running bodies on all the levels, communicating with each other, in harmony with each other, under our direction. Your higher selves below the void, and for most people, are not really helping them like they think they are. That should be obvious when you look at the condition of Earth. That means that the forms we're running on those lower planes are living selfish lives, basically, or just not aware of what's above or below them any more than you were on Earth. This process, when we return, begins to wake them up, to work with each other, and to help you on Earth. Begins to make the correction to this great problem. These beings hovering beside you are pointing upward. But you find yourself at 10,000 feet in the atmosphere, looking down right through the roof of your house. And we are hovering with these two beings in both places simultaneously because we are Atmas. We have multi-dimensional spherical capability. We have always had this ability. It's not something you need to learn how to do in the future. That's wrong. It's something first we need to recover and awaken the ability to do this, and then go further with how we co-create with the source. That is the purpose for enlightenment. This telepathic communication we have, if you look in the dictionary, they'll lump it in with psychic phenomena like telekinesis and teleportation and then they call telepathy part of that, but it is not part of the psychic faculties at all. It cannot be mixed with psychic things. It is part of the pure hue which remains behind and beyond it. This is how we really are. We're really like this. Psychic things are fine, but they belong to the lower worlds of time and space. Telepathy belongs to the Atma and the worlds beyond the void. You okay there, Angela? Just get comfortable, get still, get warm, whatever you got to do, because we're going to go now. Okay. I love small groups of people, because they're more intimate and I can be more flexible with things and enjoy it. I'm going deeper because this is English. I can go deeper sometimes quicker than I can having to wait for Perry to translate things into Thai. It's a whole different process. The same things get done, but it takes more focus and more time. You're up in space in the atmosphere. The reason you can see down through the roof from 10,000 feet is because you have the vision of the core of your being, the Atma. The teardrop faculties in all the layers allow you to see what's down there and what's up here at the same moment. You're running these forms in both places simultaneously. The next thing you know, you're in space. You are standing in a circle of beings around Ambassador Torellian. He is from the Sayres human race. Thus the book title, The Sayres Agenda. It's not my agenda. It certainly is the Sayres agenda, And one of the first things they did, or he did, when he returned to the Galactic Alliance core planet on Zetronomy 1, is present an energy changing in the hue to 5,000 members that represent 450 million spacefaring races. It changed them permanently, simply to become more aware of their journey back across the void and to get them to be interested in helping Earth not destroy itself, because long ago they allowed another planet with 3 billion people on it, 2 billion actually, 3 militaristic races to be annihilated. It is now the asteroid field circling the orbit of a planet, going about 50,000 miles an hour around the sun. That asteroid field did not get there by accident. It's not leftover planets. It's a planet that was destroyed, blown apart from the center outward, several numbers of millions of years ago. The adventure of what happened and how that was done is revealed in the Emerald Doorway book, book 1 of the Parallel Time Trilogy. And that book begins over 100,000 years ago, before the last polar flip of Earth's poles occurred, which has been permanently stopped now. There will be no more Golden Age to Iron Age for this planet. No more, none of that polar shift stuff. That was accomplished by the Silent Mentors, not the Galactic Alliance. It's much deeper than that. It at least gives the planet Earth and its people the ability to evolve for hundreds of millions of years like other worlds do without polar interruptions. Flipping. Earth has never been a fair playing field for anybody living on it in that respect until now. So out in space, you see this guy projecting an 18-foot tall body to you because he had an 18-foot tall body when he had one. Above him is this beautiful Atma hovering above it, running it. It's made of pure energy, but it looks like a human Greek god, like a male, about 36. Blonde hair down to his shoulders, slightly wavy, big crystal blue eyes, slightly pointed ears like an elf. In a white gown, holding his 2 thumbs up with closed fists out in front of himself with a golden light around them, a golden white light that's brighter than the hue that surrounds us in space. Because out here, when you look around you, you can see the Earth with its polar ice caps, oceans and land masses, and barren moon orbiting Earth that does not turn on its axis. You can see the sun. You can see billions of stars. They're all floating in a white golden field of light, much finer than atoms, and it supports everything that floats in it. You are projecting a body that looks to be about 36, perfectly beautiful, perfectly handsome. I'm the same way, Anna's the same way, John's the same way, Angela's the same way. This is how we reveal ourselves to each other. I suppose I look more like Calum, who's illustrated in the Emerald Doorway book, because that's closer to what I always look like as a being. I, of course, am the Atma running the body form I'm projecting, just like you. Chantal and Tonaltiel are standing beside me. I'm a little bit further out in space. To my right is Masterful. To my left is Anna, and there's Dantiam and Lamtiam standing beside her. John of Light a little bit more towards the earth. Angela on the other side a little bit more towards the earth. You have a man and a woman standing beside you. They're there because it's effortless for them to keep any subconscious influence like a primary implant turned off for this journey. The energy that's being projected through Ambassador Trelling's hands are coming down through the Atma he is from above him. Up above him is Et and Din, who are silica-based beings on their homeworld of Oceania. They're about 3 feet long from the tip of their cute little snouts to their tail sticking out behind them, standing upright on their hind legs, and it's glowing like crystal opal in sunlight. They're showing you as a body form like the one they have on Oceania. In that form, that silica-based species evolved with the ability to defy gravity and fly through the air as an organic race. Master Pelham, to my right, who has pale blue skin and shiny black hair to his shoulders, emerald green eyes, a little larger than human, slightly pointed ears like an elf, wearing a Galactic Alliance uniform, blue-gray fabric, single form fitting, fits over his body and right into the slipper-like feet shoes. And he's holding his right hand up because he's just simply showing you that there are webs between his fingers, a little bit longer fingers than human, otherwise very human looking. He lifts his neck, you can see 3 little slits high up the back of the upper part of his neck that you would not see normally. This race, which is human, we could even interrelate with them if they wanted people on Earth, mate with them if that's the case, but they can breathe underwater or on land because their water world, mostly water covered on the other side of the Milky Way, named Oceania, has a few islands near the equator and dome cities with transport tubes connecting them to the cities on the bottom of the ocean. This is very advanced science. They are one of the most advanced crystalline-based science technology races in the universe. The other race that's that advanced are called the Xentronomus. They are on a large planet called Xentronomon 1 on the other side of the Milky Way, and they run just a little over half of all the planets in the Milky Way. They are working in harmony with each other now, so there's really only 2 highly scientifically, spiritually advanced races running most of what we call the Milky Way. The tyrant races are contained within their own world systems. Came about at the end of a treaty 500,000 years ago, the end of a great war. They are being changed as we speak. They will not be coming back to Earth's solar system. They've been removed for 25 years now. When you look around you, you see the white golden light of the omnipresent power, the hue. That area that supports all those stars and galaxies is not physical matter. It is energy, but not as it's understood on people on Earth just yet. It's an omnipresent power that supports galaxies turning on their axis, planets revolving around suns, suns revolving around other suns and turning around the center of the nucleus of the axis of a galaxy, which has a toroidal or zero-point energy or electromagnetic field around it, from the southern pole of the galaxy all the way around it into the North Pole. The Earth has the same kind of toroidal field, electromagnetic field. It's made of the hue, but it's designed to flow so that Earth and each of us as an Atma can float in this other energy, hover in space, or move through it at will. Now out here we know this because we're in it, right in the middle of the hue which is being brought down. If you look above Eta and Din, you'll see Satnam standing there. And this he's only been doing for a few months in all of history. His choice. He's standing there showing a physical image of what he looks like. Bare-chested, strongly built, about 36, bronze skin, 2 gold bracelets on his upper arms, each arm, white tunic dress from his waist down to his bare ankles, bald head, golden eyes, almost luminous, but they're not yellow, they're gold, quite radiant. Looks like he's from India, about 36, but he is not from India. The body you're seeing is an energy projection from the beautiful, much larger Atma he is, hovering above it, radiating from many more layers of these teardrops than we have. And above him is an hourglass opening, a vortex which we created when we sent out the hue. It goes upward through a narrow opening. There's a white golden light spinning around a center, and around that is a blue-green watery-like light moving around it clockwise, but it is not water. This is a doorway between the higher area of space near Earth and the void, and up to Satnam's realm. And you can see up through this opening, this interdimensional doorway, there's a pastel white golden light flowing down through it. It's coming down through Satnam, through the Atma, through the form he's showing you, It's coming down through Turelian as the Atma, down through his form, and out in an oval field of light that's surrounding all of us in a circle. It's brighter of the hue than the hue in space, because we're in the middle of a connection directly to Source itself, basically to the higher realities above the void, where no negative nature exists whatsoever. Our nature as the Atma, without fettered by subconscious fear, is just as perfect and flawless and pure, and no negative nature. In reality, no negative nature exists in each individual Atma at all. That's all external to it. In the electromagnetic field, that's where implants were placed, designed to affect the physical nervous system on Earth to keep you from knowing anything. That's what implants were designed to do. They worked very well, but not like the tyrants who'd used them on us thought, because each Atma has always had mastery over the lower worlds of time and space. But it has been made through many sets of circumstances over a long period of time to forget this, to doubt it, to fear it. People fear leaving their bodies. They think the body's some kind of a security. It isn't. We don't even own the bodies we're running. Try and keep one forever. Go ahead, try it. We don't own the planet Earth. We're supposed to be caretakers and custodians, doing the right thing for all life on that world. We're supposed to be caring for the other species and animals and plants and sea life. There's not meant to be an overabundance and out of proportion mass number of these kinds of creatures on Earth like people are creating. This is wrong. To feed themselves? No. Nobody on spaceships comes to Earth carrying dead steaks and cows in a refrigerator so they can eat them along the way. Duh. What are people thinking? They're thinking that people from the stars must be like them. Guess what? They're not. Not at all. It's going to be quite a shock for many people on Earth to really wake up, because when they do, many of the things they're attached to, many of the things they think are so important, will simply drop away without effort, because they'll just be who they are. They can enjoy bodies and do all of that, but at least they'll know that they aren't one when they're doing that. Very significant of importance, that change. So you're looking at this Atma, this great being, this Satnam, hovering up there, observing what we're doing. There's 12 Galactic Alliance craft 30 feet in diameter in a big circle around us. They have a blue anti-gravitic light around their blue-gray metallic hulls that we can see. They have 3 semispheric pods in the bottom. Those are wave vector guides. Anyway, we can see through the hulls, and we see that there are 4 couples in all of these 12 ships. 2 are asleep together, shoulder to shoulder, in the back lounge, in the back of each craft. 3 are running a semicircular crystalline control console, which you can see an image of as they were 100,000 years ago in the Emerald Doorway book. It's illustrated. That's Captain Kalem's ship. Then, and what you realize is the couples that are asleep in some of these craft are the couples standing beside you. There are many more beings here from the Galactic Alliance that do the work of Shantiel, Tonatiel, and Dantium Lamtium that are standing beside each of you, and there are hundreds of other beings in the circle. These are master teachers who are escorted back above the void to do a session of, they're master teachers. They teach in the Hue Expansion Ray Academy, and they rotate many beings through that to teach in these academy facilities. Obviously, to bring, we can say, students or fellow Atmas with them, so that they can learn by direct experience what they once knew with certainty and confidence that they were made to doubt and forget. That's what this journey is for. They have great love and patience for us because they don't have the negative emotional charges subconsciously affecting them. They don't have subconscious minds. We are not meant to have one at all. None of us are meant to have something subconscious. We don't know what's in it. That's artificial. That was done through the misuse of advanced science before you were compelled to be born on Earth. So this process begins to reverse all that. Now you look at Satnam up there, and he's moving upward. Turelian is the central focus of these journeys. I'm standing right beside him now. Shantiel and Tonaltiel are right beside me, and we're all pointing upward. And as we move as a circle of beings upward around Turelian as a central focus point to keep us focused on getting something constructive out of this journey and not getting sidetracked. And we're moving up, following Satnam, right into this opening, this whirling funnel of golden white light. And as we move up into the middle of it, you begin to hear a sound. It sounds like millions of men and women's voices singing the hue on multiple levels, the perfect vocal cords. And it blends into a universal humming sound. There's a high note of a flute way on top of it, actually transporting us upward. It is the imaginative ability to see or remember how to see such things that allows the omnipresent power to move us from one point to another. If we don't know how to see that anymore, can't or we're afraid to, how to see Zetronomy 1, how to see Venus, how to see other planets, how to see parallel and higher dimensions, which we once knew very well. If we can't first mock it up and see it, the hue will not take you anywhere. We are co-creators with it. It relies on us to share with it where we want it to take us. So my job is to help you see things along the way that you may not be able to see on your own. This is perfectly okay because it rubs off, like it rubbed off on me. It's being transferred or moved onward to rub off on others to help them recover who they are. This work is unique. It does not exist anywhere else on Earth. I wish this were different, but until more people are ready, then I have to do this kind of solo, which is fine because I'm not alone. There are many beings not from Earth that work with me, or I wouldn't attempt it. As we move up in the middle of this narrow area of the hourglass, you can see level. You can see right through it because it's transparent. There's this humming sound of the hue moving us. And we can see levels upon levels upon levels upon levels of galaxies, higher light, higher, brighter light. We're moving through the astral, causal, mental, and etheric in this other energy that's been created as a vortex from above the void. And as we move up through the other end of it, you see Satnam journey into what looks like a pale blue light everywhere. It's much brighter than anything below, but it still looks like a pale blue, beautiful light. We're moving into the void. The void is very expansive. And as we move into it, you see the vortex below you vanish under your feet. That's right, your pure energy feet, hovering below the pure Atma you are. And now everywhere you look, it's just this pale blue light everywhere, humming. It's the pure hue. It is not the realm of the Supreme Being at all. It is a barrier between the upper realities where no negative nature exists or ever existed, and the lower worlds of time and space, causation and matter, good and bad, and all that stuff. Satnam is sailing very fast far above us, and we're moving as a circle of beings around Turelian, like planets around a sun, following him until you see a white beach appear in the distance, brightly lit. This beach is glowing a foot above this diamond-like sand. It goes as far to the left and right as you can see, and then it curves outward, inward, so it looks like this is a beach surrounding some kind of huge landmass. And then you see Satnam hover down, the Atma above him, and his bare feet wiggle in this glowing foot above the sand. It's made of a certain substance. And he reaches down and picks up a hand of this stuff in his palm, and it floats up out of his palm, goes right into the white core of his being, doesn't change its brightness because he's already merged with this, and it goes out into the universe. So he's giving us an example of what we need to do. So we go down, put our feet on that beach, all of us, lining up this big beach as far as you can see, hundreds of people. Turelian's standing offshore as if he's standing in ocean water up to his knees, but it's the pale blue light of the void. He likes to do this. He gets grounded in it. So he has this physical form, 18 foot tall, standing just offshore of this beach, smiling at us with his two thumbs still up, and the Atma hovering above the form he's showing us. So you all reach down, pick up a handful of the sand. You realize it's little round, polished diamonds. Charged, they're radiating some form of the pure hue. And you move your hand upward, and these particles go up above your hand, right into the white core of your being, and makes it much brighter. And it goes out and starts turning on a few of these other teardrops in all the layers out to the golden exterior layer. And then it continues onward into the void. It's ever moving, always for our benefit and onward for the benefit of others. This is how it works. This is how we really are. This is what we once knew. There is a difference because as we're waking up now, the wisdom is moving through the hue in us so that we become aware in such a way that we will never be vulnerable to be trapped again, ever. This is significant. And then Satnam lifts off the sand, levitates over the top of these jungle trees, which are very tall. Some of them look like fruit trees and palm trees, but they're transparent. There's energy moving up and down them, the color of the rainbow. Everything's lit up here. We're moving over the top of the jungle following Satnam until he stops, and we're looking down and we see a clearing. And in the clearing is a 15-foot wide fountain, scalloped edges like ivory stone. And there's a statue of Satnam standing in it with his palms outward open at his sides. There's a white golden shaft of light coming down into this device, filling this fountain through his palms, pouring into the bowl. It drops around the outer edge of this fountain in a clear, glistening golden white sheet and vanishes into the ground behind a circular white stone sitting area that circles the fountain. 12 intricately carved scrolled legs support it. Satnam is hovering beside it, pointing to it. In the distance, he points towards a long, diagonal, snow-capped mountain range. At the base of the mountain range are crystalline towers, buildings, transparent, glowing with a golden light. And then in the middle, at the base of this one big mountain, are two big pillars like lapis lazuli, blue stone glazed with gold. That's what they look like. You can look at what lapis lazuli looks like when you Google it on Earth. And there are these golden quartz steps leading, thousands of them, up to this opening. And in the background, under a cathedral ceiling, is a blue stone glowing chair, like a king's chair, with smooth rounded edges. But he doesn't sit in it. It's a device. There's a shaft of white golden light coming down into this chair, radiating out through these buildings into the entire landmass. And this landmass is Satnam's realm. It is the Atma plane. This is the original departing point for all Atmas that came down into the lower worlds to run bodies several 100 billion years ago. We were meant to return and haven't been. That's the problem. A lot of what we call the collective of God, the center or the primary source or prime creator, is individually all over the lower universes of time and space, unaware of who they are. How can the lower dimensions change for the better if collectively a lot of what we call the source is not awake? Many are, many more are not. This is changing. So we find ourselves flying around Turelian over to these steps, following Satnam, who's flying through the air. This is easy stuff. He passes through these pillars, goes around this throne chair, and in the back there's a triangular opening that leads into a huge, multiple vast acreage areas of exotic luminous plants. And there's a bigger fountain just on the other side down some golden steps. It's much bigger than the fountain in his garden. There is no statue of him here. It has a white golden light coming down into this bowl of this mountain, flowing over the edge in an even sheet and dropping into the ground, vanishing. We're going to go up into that fountain because it is a doorway between Satnam's realm and the Hue Expansion Ray Academy that's built between the 5th and 6th planes in a parallel dimension. And it was built there about 10 or 11 Earth years ago, started to be built there for the first time. We're going there because it is a teaching facility where beings like silent mentors, who are the mechanics of all creation, and master teachers can communicate with each other and help each other expand. And we get to be right in the middle of them. This is key, significant. So we move up into this field of energy and are shot upward at tremendous speed. The next thing you realize, you're looking down on 6 snow-covered mountain peaks, bigger than Mount Everest, giant, circling a white island surrounded by a blue-green luminous lake down in the middle between all 6 mountains. There is a blue glass-like, clear, transparent administration tower, rises up to an oval communication center, 2/3 of the way up, and then it goes up to a minaret point. The shaft of white golden light is running down from above into this, and inside the base of this glass, before this blue glass administration tower was moved from the western side of the western mountain to the center, which was fairly recent, it increases the amount of hue into the lower planes. And there is a blue, kind of a blue lapis lazuli stone with rounded edges, polished, about 4 feet high. Hovering above it is a 4-foot wide, transparent crystal glass-like sphere with a cobalt blue radiant star in the center. And there's a beam of white golden light coming down into it. It goes down that star, down that shaft, and into the hollowed out interior of the Hue Expansion Ray Academy. And you look out into the horizon from where we're hovering, and you can see this luminous white sandy beam, much brighter than the one in Satnam's realm, circling the outer circumference of this huge floating landmass. It's floating in and encompassed by an even brighter cobalt blue light. You can see the white golden light of the hue behind it, supporting it. There are no moons, no planets, no suns, no stars here. Everything, including all of us, radiates its own light. There's no need for such things. Beings collectively hold this place together. Both silent mentors and master teachers alike. I am responsible for holding it together as well. I helped bring it into creation. Satnam obviously had a great deal to do with conducting permission to get this done. And this was built in such a way so that beings who normally cannot connect with each other can for the first time. You can see at the base of the 6 mountains, looking down from high above this whole floating landmass, there are horseshoe-shaped tunnels, pure golden blue walls glowing at the base of all the mountains, and out of them comes a white stone roadway. They're like spokes of a bicycle tire around the entire circumference of this landmass that goes straight as an arrow out to the beach. To the right and the left down each roadway, every so often, is a clearing with a different type of building, a different kind of training facility. Many of the beings who have come with us, several hundred, are leaving us now from this circle and going down into the different teaching facilities all over this landmass to conduct training people by direct experience when they're out of their bodies, like people back on Earth at night. When the Atma starts walking around energy like this, it comes into the Atma and it's brought back with you to earth. It starts rubbing off on others. It just comes through. You don't even have to be conscious of it. It's good to be aware the hue is moving through you because it's what we live and move and have our being in anyway. But as we become more conscious, much greater volume of it can come through us on earth. We become boots on the ground to help transform a world that has no idea it's meant to be transformed. Most people think that Armageddon's inevitable because they're creating it. If it hadn't been neutralized from many more beings from off-world, they would have succeeded already. I don't think there's a planet in creation in the Milky Way, way down there, that ever survived being in a state like people on Earth are, with the industry we have, the kind of weapon, that ever survived a transition to a spacefaring normal world without the assistance of fellow beings, intervening in some way to some degree. Otherwise, we're left like Maldek to blow ourselves up. They won't allow that again because that bit them in the ass for the last long period of time. They decided to hands off, don't interfere. That was a mistake. They're discovering this now. We are responsible as beings to be custodians and caretakers of beings that are not as evolved. This is our job. We are meant to be this way. We are this way. We're going to the North Beach. When you look down on the Hue Expansion Ray Academy, you can see north, south, east, and west. It's divided into 4 quadrants, like dividing up a pizza. And these white roadways, the one goes right down the middle of each quadrant. About 2/3 of the way towards the beach, there's a turn to the right. And there is a clearing in all 4 sections. In each section are a different type of tree represented, glowing leaves. And we're going to the North Beach simply to stand on the radiant sand of the northern part of the Hue Expansion Ray Academy. When you look out, you can see, and as you move up above the entire landmass with Turelian, you can see there are 12 oval islands surrounding the outside circumference of the Hue Expansion Ray Academy. It's a single dome covering pyramids in each one. Those are silent mentor teaching facilities. There are also 4 in the Hue Expansion Ray landmass. So we're going to go to the northwestern quadrant and hover down, and until we find ourselves hovering around, it looks like one of these glass blue spheres with a cobalt blue star in it, radiant, floating above this 100-foot circle of white stone. There are 12 trees around this floating cobalt blue star with a blue shaft of golden white light coming into it. And they look like giant weeping willow trees with broad blue-green spoon-shaped glowing leaves. Up above them is standing 12 beings, alternating male and female. They have a different colored gown on, almost indicating a different station in a lodge, for instance. They're all equal, but they have different functions with each other. Now above them, they have long hair to their shoulders. Some's black, some brown, some silver, some golden. You can't see any facial features. They're all human looking. When you look in the face, it's a bright white golden light. And all you see when you look into it is level upon level upon level of galaxies and planets and dimensions. You can even see Earth all the way in the background. This is how they think. Above them is floating a much larger Atma than we are. It is 4 times in diameter than us, twice as many teardrop shapes in it, kind of like Sat Nam. Those are silent mentors. Hovering in this beam of light up above this sphere, hovering above this circular marble floor, is Ambassador Turelian. I'm hovering beside him. There are a number of master teachers in a circle right around him. Ramu, Pelham, Etta, Din, many others. And there's an energy flowing through the top of the Atma of each silent mentor, through the face of each one, right through all of us in a circle in between the master teachers and them, floating there. and goes right into the beam of light up through Ambassador Trillian and upward. So what we're doing is dancing between master teachers and silent mentors for the first time. This is the one place we can go to mix it up with them. That means we're becoming prototypes. We're becoming something that never existed before. An evolution of being that will have a mix of silent mentor and master teacher combined. There is a hue expansion ray plane in existence now above the realm of the silent mentors, above the ocean of sound and light, source or prime creator. And that is an administration plane designed to help manage the new ray in the hue, to retire good and evil as in a failed experiment and replace it with the hue expansion ray. This is the wisdom to know how to never be trapped again as an Atma, and how to become a co-creator with Source as we were always meant to be. Provides a certain protection. So now, we're in a circle around Ambassador Trillian, moving up this shaft of light. The next thing you know, you're coming out of a massive silver tree. It's bigger than anything on Earth. It's bigger than a planet. And it has silver leaves glowing and a trunk that's transparent with white golden light running through it. There is a massive being, even bigger than a silent mentor, floating towards us in an energy that's gargoyling. It's moving and swirling, pink and reds and fire. It never stops moving. But we aren't in fear. This being, this Agam Purusha, many planes above the Hue Expansion Ray Academy, is responsible for generating the raw power of eternity that comes from the source above us, where we're headed, and generating it down through the planes, even to Satnam, and down all the way to Earth. There are billions, perhaps trillions, of silent mentors. They are in their own organization. Normally they do not interact with Atmas or master teachers. That's not their bailiwick. It's not their function. And you're seeing this being approach you. First thing I did when I met him was I wanted to be his buddy, his friend. Because he doesn't have any. People are scared of him. At least when they look at it from down below. I wasn't. I wanted to be his friend, truly and sincerely. So I became his friend. It would be highly recommended that all of you ask to be his friends as well. He loves the company. Wouldn't hurt anything. Could help a great deal. And then he waves us towards this tree. He does not have a physical form like Satnam. So when I say wave, it's a telepathic kind of an okay green light for us to move into this field of energy around Trillian. And then we're moving inside the trunk of this silver tree, passing right through the needles and branches. And when you look at the needles, each one on your way, they connect to some point, some planet, some place in the entire multidimensional creation. This is called the Tree of Life. As we move up the shaft of this tree, we come out and we're looking out across this void. It's a brighter cobalt blue light than anything we've seen before. There seems to be one silver galaxy circling in an orbit around a central nucleus. And there are bright Atma beings that are actually what look to be stars circling this center. There are no planets or moons or suns or stars here. They're unnecessary completely. We're moving in between individual beings, moving in a circle around this center, connected to it. And as we pass between them, our little group of beings, we move right in towards a hollowed void, a void in the center, and there's something gleaming in the center of it, hovering above a white island. The sand around that island is gold white and such a radiance, it's breathtaking. The sound here cannot be described in human terms. It is so breathtakingly brilliant, so mixed with the hum of the hue, so mixed with flutes, so mixed with orchestration, so mixed with millions of men and women's voices, singing the hue in perfect harmony, creating and maintaining this. And we find ourselves standing, really hovering as Atmas, above this white sandy beach, looking at this Atma that is just gigantic compared to us. dozens of more layers of these teardrop shapes, and has a white core. This is what we call prime creator, source, the ancient one, whatever you want to call it. It has putting out an energy that does not and has never required worship of it ever. We are meant to return respectfully of it and each other. This is the only requirement. That's it. People worshiping a supreme being or a savior or anything like that is putting them on a pedestal so far above them they will never reach it. That is not the correct way to do things. Then we find ourselves moving in between the individual teardrops of this massive central presence until we merge into the white core, the Atma we are, until we're all floating inside that white core. Turelian too. Then you hear a voice that sounds deeply, melodiously male, but it's also feminine. It has this balance to it. And it's welcoming you home here. This is the ocean of sound and light, source or prime creator. And then you realize you are one of the beings circling this center, and you never left. Atmas are multidimensional capable. They can run forms on multiple levels simultaneously. This we do with ease. And then we're going to move up a shaft of light so bright it can barely be looked at. Coming out of the top of this one single galactic form floating in a cobalt blue atmosphere and shooting up this energy, we are going to what is called the next level. This is the realm of the silent mentors. We can't think of it as higher than this ocean of sound and light because they don't think of it that way. It's separated for a purpose. It's in a higher frequency of the hue. We come out and now we see we're looking at this almost lavender, violet, blue atmosphere surrounding this other island. It has mountains, blue, transparent mountains circling an island, the golden sand glowing around the outer circumference. Is easy to perceive. The sound here is like a high note of a flute. And we're moving over the top of this beach and mountains. There are no stars here, no cosmos here, just this one place. And inside it, you see an island in the center, surrounded by crystalline-type buildings around the inner circumference of this mountain range. There are beings that look like silent mentors with physical forms with faces you can't see, moving to and fro between the buildings and going to the central island. On the island is another fountain. It has a blue, golden, yellow stone surface to it. There's a radiant blue star in the middle of it. It's pouring energy down from this star through this form, out through the walls, through these beings, down into the ocean of the center of Prime Creator or Source. There is a plane above here. We'll go there another time. That's the Hue expansion ray plane. Silent mentors and some master teachers. I'm working there. And this is for the benefit of all life. No ego of any kind, no negative nature of any kind can be brought through the void to Satnam's realm. It is left behind with the sleeping bodies back in the lower dimensions. It is impossible to bring a negative nature here at all. We can't stay here long or the physical bodies on earth would perish. And we find ourselves coming out of another tree of life with silver luminous needles, with a transparent trunk, and it's much smaller, but it's still giant. The roots are deeply rooted into a foot-thick golden quartz floor at the base of a giant pyramid. The top of this tree goes right up to the inner point of this pyramid. There is a being standing as we come out of this trunk of this tree and hover in a circle. He's just outside of us. He's a little 5-foot, 5-inch tall Chinese guy with esoteric symbols on a red maroon type robe and a little hat, Fu Manchu beard. He's got his hand over his chest bowing. This is Master Light C, not Lao Tzu or Light Se or any of that. Light C. And he's the custodian or caretaker of this connection of the tree and life. The two, the big one above in Agam Purusha's realm and this one, are connected. When you look in the leaves and the needles of this tree, right near the base, near one of the outer branches, you can all see the planet Earth, the moon, barren, not turning on its axis. And you can see the sun in the distance, but you see the white golden light of the hue around everything, supporting the Earth, the planets, the moons, the suns, the galaxies. There are 144 parallel dimensions of Milky Way galaxy, just in the physical universe alone, before it becomes what we call astral. It's just big. And this is something you as Atmas can comprehend because you always could. The hue is bringing us back. We're going to find our feet wiggling in the sands of the western roadway. And when you look back, you can see the outside of this four-sided golden pyramid with a quartz cap surrounded by botanical paradise. And it comes out of the western roadway. It's the first turn to the right, to the west of one of the 6 mountains. And now we're looking down with our feet wiggling in this luminous white sand of the Atma plain, Satnam's realm. And he's standing on the beach with us. Trillions offshore as if he's standing in ocean water. It's a cobalt blue light, a little darker than the atmosphere, but he's just standing in the hue, really having fun. Still got his 2 thumbs up with the white golden light around him, as bright as this Atma plain. And so you feel this sand come up through this projected form that looks perfectly human. It goes up into the white core of your being. And it makes the white core brighter, so you begin to remember all the lives you've lived in eternity above the void before you started playing with bodies in the then recently created lower worlds of time and space. We all had a hand in it. Bitching about negativity never changes it. Waking up to co-create changing it is the only way it will ever change. And we can only do that from up here. We go into a realm where there is no negative nature. We experience ourselves as not being beings of any negative nature. And that rubs off on us. And we bring it back to Earth. And you find yourself in a circle, hovering around Ambassador Trillian with everyone that we started out with, except the 200 other people, because they've remained in the Hue Expansionary Academy to teach by direct example. That means they show people how they once were, they demonstrate it, and then people pick up on it, eventually emulate it, recover it. This is how they teach. And you're looking at the Earth with its polar ice caps and oceans and landmass and barren moons. Suddenly a heat wave goes over it like in a desert, and it turns into a planet. Same place, no polar ice caps. The moon is full of oxygen and water and oceans and little dome cities, turning on its axis, orbiting the Earth. The sun's in the distance. The stars are all out there, just like they were before. Except this planet has one huge continent centered over the equator from the left to the right hemisphere. It has a huge mountain complex in the center like the Himalayas, but it's not the Himalayas. There's a continent 2/3 its size centered over the equator on the other side of the planet. We can see right through it. This is in the 3rd higher parallel dimension of the physical universe. It is an Earth upon a top of an Earth on top of an Earth at different molecular time rates, evenly divided. You can see an upward curved, half-moon shaped, emerald glowing beach down near the South Pole. It's at the point of that landmass about 1/3 of the way above the South Pole. And it's calling to us. That big continent is still called Lemuria, or Mu. The one on the other side is Atla or Atlantis, but it's not the Lemuria Atlantis that were sunk 100,000 years ago with the last polar flip of the Earth you're familiar with. This is a prototype system. The moon that's alive and turning on its axis will be superimposed over the moon we have now that is dead and lifeless and not turning as it should be. That will come up for this solar system. And we find ourselves moving down through the atmosphere of this planet in a group around Turelian until we come to stand on this huge upward curve. It's like a big curve, miles long, of this emerald glowing beach. It's glowing a foot above the emerald sand. This blue-green water is calm that Turelian's actually standing in up to his knees. And we're on this beach, wiggling our toes in this glowing sand. It's glowing a foot above the sand. It's both cooling and warm in your perceptions at the same time. There's a brown moss-covered path cut right through the trees, which are huge jungle trees, luminous, because the water on this planet is charged with the hue. The ocean glows a foot above the calm waves. You can see inland down this path. There is a single snow-capped mountain in the distance to the right. And to the left on a lower plateau is a dome, clear, covering a city. It has 3 gold-sided quartz-capped pyramids in the back third. A semicircular mountain range around it with waterfalls cascading down it, glowing, that are emptying into an oval blue-green lake in the center. There are little white ivory-collared dome dwellings all over the countryside. Beautiful trees like weeping willow trees like we saw way up in the upper plains on each side of these white marble paths. And we find ourselves standing in a field of tall grass around this path. Turelian's standing 18 foot tall. I'm standing just in front of him. And approaching us is Master Opellum, walking right up to us because he works here. This is an earth he works in other than Oceania. He is the founding sponsor member, backed by the encouragement of Turelian, to create the Galactic Interdimensional Alliance of Free Worlds that is centered on the planet Zetornami 1, near the galactic core of the Milky Way galaxy. He approaches us with his hand on his upper chest, just flat. And then you hear him tell you, welcome to this city. And he tells you it is an experiment, it is a scientific research center. Silent mentors come here, Galactic Alliance personnel come here, certainly Oceanians do. Et and Din are hovering beside him, behind his shoulders, smiling at you, wiggling their little fingers. They are master teachers. I adore them. I've known them for 100,000 years. My cat, Starlight, is hovering behind them with his tail glowing, standing upright. He's learning from them. When he translated, I took him to the Atma plane and turned him over to Satnam. He does not have to reincarnate as a human or an animal or any other form. His destiny is forever and permanently changed. I wish he were still here beside me, but I have to go visit him where he is now. I guess it's a great incentive. He comes over and curls around my neck and shoulders and purrs. And he hovers up in front of me, and we rub noses. He goes back. He's got a little female consort now next to him with her glowing tail. It's amazing to see this stuff. So Satnam is telling you that at some point, this world, its cleaned atmosphere, its entire structure, no pollutants, no insect life, no microscopic life that's in competition with human beings, that's all eliminated on advanced worlds. When it's done being a part of evolution, it is removed. Animals are not raised here. Nobody eats animals or seafood or anything like that. They don't have to eat at all. They are Atmas. They can for pleasure, but it hits a certain organ above the stomach and is disintegrated. It's just changed into light, into the hue. So they don't have elimination systems that are necessary here either, in human advanced forms. And he's sharing this with you because you once knew it. Some of you are Oceanian and advanced life in the Galactic Alliance in wondrous lifetimes before you were implanted, caught, and put on Earth. Getting those back raises your IQ like this experience. It makes you more intelligent. The opposite of lust is not abstinence. It is right discrimination. It is not what people think. Right discrimination. The ability and the wisdom to choose correctly without making mistakes comes from a relationship with the Satnam and other beings in collaboration. It makes us much more universally intelligent. Then you look at this mountain, there's a waterfall cascading down the left side of it, out of a cavern opening 2/3 the way towards the summit. It's bright, glowing with a blue kind of green light. It's flowing down a sheer cliff face and disappearing in a blue-green forest of trees that surrounds the back side of the dome. It eventually makes its way to the lower plateau and empties into that ocean where Tyrrellian was standing. We are in a circle around Tyrrellian, hovering above this waterfall cascading out of this mountain. And above it is an oval tunnel with little dome-shaped lights receding down in a circle downward inside. We're going to go up inside this opening, which all of us together in a circle around Tyrrellian would look like, entering the open, we look like the size of a dime to a dinner plate. So it's quite large. And as we move down in circles of a spiral down in it, we come out of an opening and find ourselves inside of a huge oval interior hollowed out center of Mount Shasta in Northern California. They are connected. This is a Galactic Alliance base that was built there in 1908. And if they hadn't been there, Earth people would have blown themselves up. Simple as that. So I live about 55 minutes from that mountain for a good reason. The commanders of that base, Unamala and Tamlur, which you'll meet at some point, and John Trawl and Sun Dima, who are the commanders of the Emerald Star cruiser stationed in the ice rings that circle the planet Saturn in our solar system. It's a mile long. It is where these Galactic Alliance scouts come from, where these masterful beings circle us and go on this journey. They're stationed permanently for now in our solar system to protect us from ourselves and to keep all negative influences that were coming in our solar system from ever returning. They cannot return. You're going to see the co-commanders of this base walk up to you with a hand on their chest. They're standing up from egg-shaped white chairs with blue cushions in front of an oval blue glass top table, right in the middle of a huge gold quartz type floor that's luminous. The ceiling of this cavern has concentric circles of dome-shaped lights and concentric circles across the curve of the dome, and two doors split in half that make up a sphere. Those are doors that open in the top of Mount Shasta. They can come and go without being seen by aircraft or anybody else. It's just technology, folks. You're going to see a number of other personnel on the base who are working on a series of ships, six in two parallel rows off to the left. And there are Oceanians and some other races working on these Griffin. They wave to us. In the distance in the background is a long, rectangular-shaped building with 5 levels of transparent, outward curved, convexly curved windows. And you can see people working in all 5 levels at semicircular crystal and control consoles, looking up at curved, projected holographic screens. Now you've had a visit to that base. It is connected to the parallel dimension of the higher Earth, where we just came from. When you find yourself hovering near the ceiling where you live, this man and woman beside you are still there. You're going to have a more powerful ability now to stay focused on no fear of the present or future. Many people get caught up in, we're going to have nuclear war. They look at the internet, these reptilians with Nazis in Antarctica. It's baloney. There hasn't been any negative beings on Earth or in bases underground for 25 years. That's how far behind the extraterrestrial and disclosure communities are right now. We'd all be gone. Pushing up daisies, playing with harps, whatever. Then you look down and you realize there's a white golden light coming down from this journey through the roof where you live. All of you, including me, it's passing through your physical body, connected through the pineal gland, the center of the brain. It's going out into the huge electromagnetic field that surrounds your body. People call the aura, but it's much bigger than they know. And as it moves through you for your benefit, it goes onward for the benefit of others. It connects to 3 pyramids, 2 at the bottom of Earth's deepest oceans, one in the Atlantic, one in the Pacific, and one in a hollowed out interior in a mountain in the Himalaya. There is a Satnam fountain in all 3. It is turned on. It is running. It is not concerned about the people on the service so much at this time, but it is concerned with beginning to charge up the oceans. The only thing in the way with that happening swiftly are the 8 billion unconscious people on Earth who are not co-creatively conscious enough to help it happen. So we're back here. It moves through those pyramids and out into space to a bigger pyramid stationed between 2 stable asteroids in the asteroid field that now circles in the orbit of a planet between Mars and Jupiter. That is how it got there. If you want to know how that planet was blown up and how Earth's poles got influenced, etc., read the Emerald Doorway book. It's in there. It goes out in space and connects to pyramids that have been manifested between suns. The classified community knows about this big pyramid hanging out between those 2 stable asteroids. That much I can guarantee you. They can't do anything with it. It cannot be approached by weapons. It cannot be affected in any way, shape, or form. It is not material in nature, and silent mentors run it. You cannot mess with them. And it goes out to the galactic core of the Milky Way galaxy and up the white golden shaft back to source, and it never stops moving. This is how you should open your eyes. And we're back here. If Angela can open her eyes, and Anna, she's fine. She's been on these journeys. Now, I will bring this recording to a close,